Pugzy Does It Wrong #3. Gonna be redoing some of the stuff I did again. Taking these videos when I can. So just when I'm working, gonna work some of the same stuff, but maybe cover it differently. We'll see. Welded some handles on. This is some 32 millimeter. It's not quite medium wall, so it's gonna melt a little quicker. Not thin wall either, but some pretty thin material. It's all clear. I'm gonna add the frit to it. I got some frit already prepped out. I usually do. Preheat it and then pour the frit in. I like to preheat the tube so those frits sticks quicker. I don't like waiting a long time to get it to stick. You can put as little or as much as you want. The more you put in there, obviously, the more you're going to increase the weight of the glass, weight of the piece, so depending on what you're starting with, what you're looking to end with. Maybe you want some clear showing, maybe you don't want some clear showing. If you want it to be fully colored, then you want to put it in there pretty good if you want all the clear to disappear. And then the more clear you want to be showing, some people don't, but some people do. You just add less, so clear can shine through. If you're gonna do less, again, I said this is not even quite a medium wall one yet. I would use a thicker wall weight definitely if I was gonna do a lighter frit. I did a little less than I would normally do, a little bit lighter of a pattern, but I got to go all the way through. The blank being a little thinner helped that frit get sticky a little quicker. The flame penetrating through the whole thing a little quicker there. So sometimes I'll do a bunch of frit and get it ready all at once. That way I can come back and do the bowls all at once. Just the way I process it sometimes. You can do it any order or way you want. Sometimes some of the moves I do when making the bowl are also the same moves I do when I'm making the blank. So if you do them together, you can actually combine some of those moves together. But sometimes that's what you want, sometimes it's not. The little frit splash out the end, I try to pick it off so the end ends up clear, or it gives a little bit funny look at the end. I actually kind of like how it looks with the frit sticking out the front, but a lot of people consider it a mistake. I kind of like how it looks, so sometimes I do it on purpose. Got a bucket of water over there I'm dipping my things into. This part is probably getting a little cold now because I was working the top. Maybe not too much, but it's frit. It likes to be a little, what's the right word? I don't know, it fights you a little times if you don't got it fully melted in yet and you're letting it cool down. It doesn't always agree with the glass fully. Oh. It's funny, sometimes you hear a tink. Maybe it's in your water bin, maybe it's in your hand. I don't see, maybe it was just that. The blow tube was on some pieces that were fine. We're gonna melt that frit in good. Get this extra clear melted in top. So on my bowls, I always like to do a reduction in the middle. Takes a lot of heat. I spend probably too much time on it, but I do that on any of my bowls anyway. And so instead of spending a ton of time getting this frit all melted in 100%, I'm going to start with that reduction that I would do on the bowl anyways to melt in the frit and get the shape I'm looking for to get started right away. I always try and think of ahead, because the whole time you see me still getting the shape I want for this, the left hand is doing stuff. I'm getting the puntey ready for how I would normally puntey up and get everything started, so just thinking about it ahead so I can get on it right away. You ever cooked in a kitchen for a lot of people, and you gotta have the right thing started at the right time, so when the meal's all done, you serve it all at once. The better you are at that, getting your portions down, the quicker these pieces will get done. I'm real slow at making these. You get things ready ahead of time, you have things in place, they're gonna roll a lot better for you. That's a huge flame I'm gonna turn down a little bit. Oh man, the dogs are going crazy again. I gotta go grab the dogs, unfortunately. I'll be right back. I'll leave my cup. Alright, Daisy, come here. Alright, and we're back. I went to go edit some of these videos, but honestly, they're going to be uploaded raw for right now because as soon as I try to transfer the videos, it kind of cuts out a lot of the quality. And not that these videos are much quality anyways, but the little bit of quality we do have here, we're going to try to keep. So you guys are going to get the whole raw video until I can figure out a little bit more how to get this situated. Last time I said I had an editor helping me. He does help me, but these videos aren't able to make it to him, so I'm just recording this on my phone. So I gotta go help the dogs. You see me go help the dogs. So with that reduction in place there, me pumping a little air into it, I know that right there the frit is all melted in. Now where the mouthpiece is, I'm going to do another reduction like I normally do to shape and form the mouthpiece off the blow tube. And when I do that, I know that section of frit will also be melted in. So, if you have trouble with your bowls cracking when they get cold on you in the middle of making them, this is not the path I would recommend because this is very susceptible to cracking right now. So finesse and technique, hopefully it won't crack on me. Very important to keep your hands rotating at the same speed. If you see it start to warp or flex or things turning, it's not going to be as strong, it's not going to be as even, it's not going to be as smooth, it's not going to be as center. So practicing getting your hands to spin at the same speed is everything right here. That's where the bolt's going to end right there. Keep it on the flow tube, trying to spin it straight. Now I noticed there's some frit that still seems rocky. That's probably not baked all the way in. Let me go back in and bake it all the way in. Now I let that reduce there by just using heat and gravity. This section of the mouthpiece, I don't want it to reduce, so I'm going to keep air in there with the heat. When I add more air, I'm going to take it out of the heat so it doesn't get thin spots. Giving it soft little puffs in there. Soft little puffs, keeping it round. I like a little bit of an orb for a mouthpiece. I like to give the smoke a little bit of swirl before it hits your lungs. I like to think about how my pipe is going to be used. How is the pipe going to work based on what I am or am not doing to the shape of it. If you get a piece that condenses the smoke a lot, the smoke's probably going to come out pretty harsh. You got to always keep that in mind. So I try to do a trick here, knowing the left side is cold and the right side is hot. Usually you tap it there. Now, bad things can happen when you do that. You can run a crack all the way from the front. A crack could run right down that bowl super easy. Takes a little bit of, light touch to it. The right side could crack as well, but because you just had it hot, hopefully you had it hot enough where you tap it and that the left side cracks, not the right side. Could go wrong a couple of times. Might take a little bit of practice with that one. Or you could safely melt it off. Takes a little bit longer. And sometimes it moves the material around a little bit the way you don't want it to. This way, I know none of the material moved on me. The bowl head's right where I want it, and no extra clear going on the top there. I like the way that the frit ended up at front. This is a smaller bowl. It was thinner glass, and I thickened it all up, so the size became smaller. I'm gonna keep all the proportions a little bit smaller here. I like to get this part real nice and flexible. It takes a little bit of hand control, but I like it hot and soupy. Looking for a certain percentage of bull head to neck. Often thinking about my proportions here. Many people don't use a paddle here. I use a paddle here because I'm looking for a certain shape. I like a certain shape. And that's how I achieve that shape. And there it is. The more even you spin your hand here, the more even speed you spin your hand here, the more center that bowl head's going to be on for you. I never get them completely centered. I usually have a high spot and a low spot. I actually use that. I use the higher spot usually for the foot of the bowl, and the lower spot usually for the push of the bowl. Again, just gives me a shape I'm looking for. Makes the bowl sit a little bit more the way I like it to sit. This one's pretty even. Part of the, I don't know what to call that, the bowl head has a sharper angle to it, one has a more shallow angle, but overall it's pretty even, so that'll probably be the foot right there, and push the bowl right about here. A lot of people use their mini torch for this. You certainly can. I didn't have a mini torch for a while. Don't touch hot graphite. So I'm just a bit used to getting it center like this. Every once in a while you're going to switch how you do things. Just because you do it that way first doesn't mean that's the way you do it forever. Pop my bowl hole there. It's a little bit bigger than I wanted to pop. It's a smaller bowl. I'm going to want a smaller hole. The hole shrinks as you heat it, but it slightly grows as you push it. So you're going to want to know what size hole you're used to before the push and what that hole looks like after the push. Get the surface all nice and evenly heated here, the whole face of it. You blow in as you push. Some bull pushers have a tungsten pick at the front of it. I forgot about that. They're pretty awesome, actually. You just line that tungsten pickup with the hole of the bull push, and then you know your bull push pushes center. Now, lots of bull pushes don't have that, and that's fine. Mine don't. The more center you get that bull push into the lined up with your hole, the more center your hole is going to be in the bull push. I mean, that's very obvious, but sometimes you don't think about it. Glass was a little thinner than I like, so I stretched it a little more than I would like, so I'm trying to unstretch it. your hole ever gets too big, there's a trick to shrink it with this mini torch, but that's a whole nother thing above me. I don't like where the hole's going. Usually I wouldn't do this, but I'm gonna give it a little bit of a repush. Okay, a little happier with that. It's kind of stressful to repush some stuff sometimes, but wanted it to be pretty. So I take the mini torch. Now I don't know what I'm doing here, which is the funniest part. Someone told me you get a real tight flame with this, and you go on the sharper edges of the bowl because that's where the glass is most stressed, most angry, and you give it that massaging flame. This is supposed to prevent future cracks in the bowl. That's what I was taught. If your bowl hole is not center in the push, a lot of times when you heat up this ring, you can go back with a real sharp reamer and straighten it out. Real nice and slow, again, not adding too much stress. Here's what we're working with. Here's the bowl shape, the bowl push. So I like to flatten the bottom first because if you open the carb first, you're working with two holes. You're working two holes, you gotta cover two holes to add air pressure. So I used to heat the bottom up like this, a little tighter flame. Now, to make sure I'm real center, I actually go a little bit more like this. Helps me keep it nice and center. And you're gonna blow in as you push the bowl. I like to get hot and then I like to wait a second. And then I like to push. Alright. When you do anything like that, make sure your graphite's clean. I had a little bit of frit on there. Let's see if some of it baked in here. That might not be great. It's not the worst. You just have to melt it in, but some people put their frit on the outside. I don't. I put my frit on the inside. Okay, so I wanted a small foot here because it's a smaller bowl. That foot's a little too small. I don't want a wobbly bowl. I don't want it to wobble away. So I'm gonna do that again as well. I should have waited a little less time. So I'm taking the bowl push, I'm covering the hole so I can add air pressure, making that foot real smooth. I'm taking the mini torch, real sharp flame here, sharp as I can get it without it going out, and I'm massaging out the tool mark I just made from the graphite. Tool marks are not good for the glass. They absolutely eventually lead to cracking. I am just massaging out that tool mark. I like to hold my bowls upside down when I do this so the glass doesn't droop downwards, making it wobbly. I like it to, I don't know the difference in concave and convex, but I like it to bend inward so it still sits nice and flat. So that takes some of the stress out. Now that I have the foot formed out of the way, when I do the carb, again, I only have to cover one hole here and not worry about much afterwards. I'm gonna get a real sharp flame here. Again, some people use their mini torch. I just do it like this. Get it hot, pop a hole. I like to pop it slightly towards the front of the bullhead, because that way your finger wraps around nice, and a little bit higher than the halfway mark is where I like my carb. Now if your hole's way too small, you can blast some real oxygenated air in it by opening it up just a little bit. bowl is less round than you would like it, just give it a real quick kiss with the reamer. Don't ream it out. Just a quick kiss. That reamer is a little too small. The carb hole size is super preference. I like mine a little larger than other people, personally for my personal use, because I clear a lot of smoke at once. When I make the bowls, I actually make them a little bit smaller because most of the time, that's what people tell me when they come to the table. I think it's good to make glass the way you like it. That way you find the audience that's similar to you. You know what they're into. You could please that market really well. So here's 98% of the bowl. We got a mouthpiece to form. We got to take it off the blow tube. In the beginning, this was the trickiest part for me, hands down. I could do all of this for a while, and then the bowl would always get wrecked at the end. I don't like cold grabbers on my hot bowl, so they say not to do it this way, but I just heat up the grabbers. I don't let them get red or nothing, but I heat them up pretty freaking good. And I get my grabbers on here. Mine have a turn nut on them. There's some nicer ones that have a spring on them. This one you just tighten down. A lock nut or a lock screw. Alright, I'm just going to slice off the front. Sorry. I have everything already shaped the way I want it to, so I'm going to keep that shape to everything. Also, we just worked the left side of the bowl a ton. Formed the bowl head, did the bottom, carb, bowl push, all that. But the right side of the bowl we weren't doing anything with. So this side's cold. You want to heat it up nice and slow. It's very prone to cracking right now. I keep it spinning. That way it moves nice and even. Two different ways I open a mouthpiece. Sometimes it depends on how it comes off. I've been sticking more to the poke through method more lately. I had a lot of coffee today though, so it might not work as well. And I told you I would show you the other method, so here's what's going to be. The trick to this is that it actually gets a little bit cool. So I usually take the blow tube from the piece, so this was just on here, I just removed it. I usually take break off the fragile glass. I take the back end, that was the mount that was in my blow tube, and I just heat it super hot, soupy, white. And I literally take it on my graphite, and I smash it down here, making a circle. Now, this has been getting a little bit cooled off, the bowl's been getting a little cooled off here, and I have my circle. The size of the circle is going to depend on how much breaks off. So now I'm going to get this white hot. It's similar to the Colorado crack. The only difference is I'm using a piece of tubing. If you ask me, it makes a much more circle mouthpiece. It doesn't fuck up as much. Excuse me. So I get it white hot. I put it right on the cold glass. I pulled the point on the mouthpiece. I pulled to a point before I did that. And the point was I wanted to have the end of the bowl here, the mouthpiece, have like a stabby part to stab through the clear here. So right where that ring is, I'm gonna let it cool, I'm even gonna blow on it a little bit. And when I snap it off, it should form a real nice circle. I'm really gonna blow on it. Don't burn your lips. All right, it's cold. I wouldn't touch it, it'll burn your skin, but it's cold, let's say. That's cold in the glass world. I'm gonna take something metal. Now this is a little sketchy, just like the Colorado crack, and I'm gonna tap it on there. Boom. I didn't even look at it yet, I'm just showing it because I felt good. All right, there's your hole. Now, hole's too big, work it down. Hole's too small, work it open. This one's a little too big, So we're gonna work it down. Sometimes I make up words, don't worry about that either. It's almost a perfect hole. This side has a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of extra meat. I'm gonna remove that meat. The mouthpiece already had the shape that I wanted to because I did that beforehand. So I'm not gonna try to mess with that too much. So I'm gonna use a bigger flame over, I'm gonna use a smaller flame over a bigger flame. And I'm not gonna shoot the flame into the hole. If you want the hole to open, you shoot the flame into it. Closing this hole up a little bit, avoiding getting gases into the hole, letting it thicken up a little bit. The more even you spin it, the more even your hole will keep in here. Okay. I'm gonna kiss it with the marber as soon as I find that marber I'm looking for. This, I can pick the exact size I want it to be. If your hole is closing more like an oval than a circle, the glass just wasn't getting heated evenly. You might be like, oh, well, I was definitely heating it evenly. Maybe one part's thicker, maybe one part's not thicker. The glass itself is not forming a circle. It's probably not being heated evenly. I'm happy with all of that. This is one of the smaller bowls. Got the hole nice and center. Got the hole nice and round. That's how Pugzy does it wrong. Here's a fritted bowl. I'll try to show you how to frit the blank and make the bowl all at once. Here, let me take your glasses off for you can check out the colors on this one. I also added a light in here. You probably can't see it, but the light helps me see the glass a little bit better. Alright, this is getting cold right now. The colder it gets, the more likely it is to crack, so show it off real quick, put it in the kiln. Thank you guys.